Hi there, mate. Sorry to bother you at this time of night, but we're just calling around the neighbourhood, offering special deals, special bonuses if you switch your energy supply. Would you be interested? No, I wouldn't be bloody interested. Now get lost, bugger off. I was right in the middle of watching Baggy Hi-Fi. Greetings, kitty cats and catkins. Welcome once again to Baggy Hi-Fi, a YouTube channel devoted to record collecting and the vinyl community here in the UK, the VC. You've now gained enough marks, enough points to watch Listen with Baggy Module 2, so welcome. The idea behind Listen with Baggy was because I was aware that I was maybe buying too many records and not spending enough time listening to them. I think it's quite a common problem among people that make these VC videos. So in order for me to appreciate my record collection, I thought I would pick out in each module 6 records from the nether regions of my collection, maybe ones I hadn't listened to in a long time. And so I've picked 6 and I'm going to show them now. So we're going to begin with an album, a compilation album of one band called The Steps. Not someone you hear about very often. This is an Irish band from the late 80s, a psychedelic band, and they released 2 albums on the Vox label, which is an American garage and psych label you may know. But this compilation of chosen tracks from those 2 albums was released on Bam Caruso Records, a label that I keep on going on about, a label that was active in the late 80s and early 90s, and that's a nice custom inner sleeve from Bam Caruso with all their excellent releases. Now this record is not so excellent really. What can I say about The Steps? Well, there are some sort of powerful, sort of hard-hitting, organ-soaked, Doors-like Psych tracks on here, but there are also some filler tracks as well. The singing is nothing like the Doors, thankfully, but yeah, I would say this is sort of second-grade 80s Psych revival, but nevertheless some good tracks on here and quite enjoyable, but probably sort of a minor release on the excellent Bam Caruso label. Next one is again from around about the same time, the late 80s, and there was a bit of a trend, I think it was a bit of a desperate trend at the time of doing tribute albums, getting together some sort of well-known bands and then some not very well-known bands to record versions of songs by a particular band or a particular artist. I know there was one for Jimi Hendrix, I remember there's one for the Byrds, which I have. But this one is one I bought at the time, late 80s, perhaps early 90s, a tribute to Syd Barrett, of course, the creative mastermind behind the Pink Floyd when they were at their best. And I bought this one at the time and I remember being a little bit disappointed. I'll just name some of the bands who were on here. Plastic Land, who were a psych revival band. Paul Rowland, sort of eccentric British cassette artist. The Shaman before they went all ravey-davey and dancey. And some really not well-known bands at all. The Paint Set, The Lobster Quadrille, The Ashes in the Morning. The Soup Dragons, again, before they went all dancey. The Green Telescope, Lenny Helsing's excellent psych band before he formed his garage band, The Thanes. And the TV personalities. So anything with the TV personalities on is a winner with me. But also on here, and this is why this record in a way has grown in stature now, I've replayed it after many years, is that Opal are on here. The band that included David Roback from the Rain Parade and Kendra Smith on bass and vocals. So the Opal track is really nice. It's a version of Jug Band Blues, and the TV personalities do a version of Apples and Oranges, one of the early Pink Floyd singles. So this one I enjoyed hearing again. It's not a perfect compilation, but it's a good tribute to Syd. It's on the What label? I think it's the Imaginary Records label. Beyond the Wildwood. A tribute to Syd Barrett. And let's see, it was released in 1986. What's in here? Just see what else is in here. So press release for Mock Turtles EP, also out on the Imaginary Records label around about that time. Now the next one's a little bit different. It's going in a folk direction now on the Transatlantic label. Ralph McTell. Now I have seen a couple of people mention Ralph McTell recently. I think Rob Ison on the UK BC showed one of his records and found it a pleasant discovery. I think most of us in England here associate Ralph McTell with Streets of London, and it probably was a bit of a millstone around his neck because it was such a huge hit. And I was never very much a fan of that song. I do remember being in secondary school and you know, a hip teacher playing it in an assembly just to make us aware that, you know, how well off we were because we weren't homeless. So I did find that song a little bit saccharine at the time, but I did like Ralph McTell's voice. He does have a very rich voice and a really nice finger picking style. And he did begin along with people like Roy Harper, you know, in the British folk scene. So this album is his third album from 1969, before Streets of London, not before Streets of London was recorded, but before it became a massive hit, because I think it was sort of reissued in about 1974. So this is his third album, My Side of Your Window. And playing this again, I really, really enjoyed it. Tony Visconti does the string arrangements. Clive Palmer from Incredible String Band and Cobb is on here as well. The best songs on here are kind of social commentary type songs, or ones about people. Girl on a Bicycle is a nice one. Also Factory Girl, that's a nice tune as well. And Michael in the Garden as well. So this is on, I don't think it's an original 1969 issue, because the label, Transatlantic label, is that later 70s one, that nice colourful label. But yeah, really enjoyed hearing this album again. Another memory I have of Ralph McTell, apart from school, is him being on Kids TV with Nerys Hughes. I think, was it Alphabet Zoo or something like that? Anyway, that's Ralph McTell.
must be blind, 'cause he can't see what Michael sees. Michael is silent, talking to no one of things that he sees. But out in the garden he talks in soft whispers like the wind in the leaves. La 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 la, la 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 la. And they in the wisdom say Michael's got something wrong, wrong, wrong with his mind. They've seen the signs, but they can't see what Michael sees.
On to the next 3 records. This next one is a soundtrack album from a 60s film, The Trip. And the music is by the Electric Flag. I think the members of the Electric Flag, didn't they? Some of them play with Bob Dylan, Mike Bloomfield. Anyway, it seems to be kind of a collection of session musicians along with Mike Bloomfield, who's the lead guitarist. Only the film is a psychedelic era film, as you might imagine from the title. Film with Peter Fonda in it. I do have the DVD somewhere. You might expect the music to be, from the soundtrack to be, you know, real freak out type music, but it's not. It's very sort of measured and involves quite a lot of instruments like flugelhorn and harpsichord and piano, and there's some synthesizer on here as well. This is an issue of the soundtrack on the Edsel label, and yeah, I enjoyed listening to this one again. The film I liked at the time, I think, but maybe less so now. I think all those earnest LSD advocates are a bit boring now. But it's not really an exploitation film. It's quite a serious film as far as I remember. I maybe need to watch it again. But yeah, the music from The Trip, original soundtrack album, composed and performed by the Electric Flag, an American music band. Next one is Compilation, on the Archive International Productions label. Now this is one I do dig out now and again and play, really mainly just for one track, because it's a track by Jeff Goddard, which is a Joe Meek production, and it's a really great song. Now I'm going to have a needle drop included of that song. So this is volume 5 in the English Freakbeat series, an American compilation of English bands, really from the just pre-psychedelic era, you know, the mid-60s or the earlier 60s, beat groups, or maybe just with a little bit more of an edge to them. So on here, Pete Best is on here. I think I've talked about him before. Some real obscurities, the Pickwicks. Billy J. Kramer is on here with quite a hard-hitting track, The Crying Shames. So as I say, I do normally dig this record out now and again to listen to Skyman, but I played the whole record a couple of times and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's really nicely sequenced. It's got 8 tracks on each side. Just show you the label. English Freakbeat Volume 6. This compilation came out in 1992. I have one other volume in that series, but I haven't come across any others in that series. But if I do, I would certainly grab a copy. And the final record of the 6 in this version, this module of Listen with Baggy, is from an artist I don't think I've seen shown on the VC. British singer, probably singer, we're going to say singer-songwriter, but he's not the songwriter. But he wrote the music, but Pete Atkin, who made several albums in the 70s with Clive James. And the British viewers will know who Clive James is, because he was on our TV screens very regularly in the 90s and early 2000s. Very sort of witty presenter who had a chat show, and he was also a journalist, died sadly fairly recently. Apparently Pete Atkin and Clive James met at the Cambridge University in the Cambridge Footlights, and Clive James wrote the lyrics and Pete Atkin set them to music. Quite interesting on here that the musicians who are on here are definitely sort of the cream of 70s session musicians. People like Chris Bedding on guitar, great sort of jazz rock guitarist. Mike Moran, Herbie Flowers, Ray Cooper. I played this one again after a long gap and really enjoyed it. It's not folk music, it's sort of fits into that sort of quiet singer-songwriter early 70s mold, but the lyrics are something else. They're very dense with references and poetic references and very witty. There's some quite witty songs on here as well. But overall it has a kind of a wistful atmosphere which I really enjoyed, maybe for this time of year as we get towards the end of September. So that's a King at Nightfall, 1973 album by Pete Atkin. And that's it for this module of Listen with Baggy. I hope you gain enough marks to join me for Listen with Baggy 3. So for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for your comments. I always enjoy those. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Between us, the streets are swept away. The tablecloth is all the world, the rest is just a passing day.